fermentation, the leaf changed. So, so you can tell the difference, which is kind of nice for us out here, because it would be a little tricky to keep the varieties separate. So this is the potato leaf, which most all heirlooms have. Yeah, I know, it's interesting, right? Yeah, and but the tomato leaf.
Does the potato leaf have like more like purpley?
The potato leaf? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's so cool.
And then the other thing is that, you know, one of the reasons it's really easy to save seed on tomatoes is that they're typically self-pollinating, which means we're not worried about, it's kind of amazing, it's still flowering. It's not going to make anything, but I think tomatoes in the wild, they're native to like the Andes, probably would have been cross-pollinated, but these have over time been bred to be self-pollinating. They're really easy to save seed on then, because we're not worried about them. I'm not worried about the early girl and the dirty girl cross-pollinating. And the reason for that is, and I actually came out and did this before we started saving seed because I was worried about it. The stigma, the flower parts for some reason, I'm like stigma, style, anther, filament, pistil, can't keep it all straight. The stigma, so the pollen receiving part of the flower is in the center, and then there's kind of this anther cone, those are the pollen producing parts. It kind of forms, it kind of protects the pollen receiving parts. So it's like inside the pollen receiving parts are encased by the pollen producing. So that pollen can only this pollen can fall on the pollen receiving parts, which means that the process of pollination is just happening within this flower rather than from other flowers, from other plants. So some tomato flowers actually have these, stigmas that stick out of the flower. And if that's the case, then there's more likelihood that there's going to be some cross-pollination. So if you're wanting to save seed on tomatoes, you're looking for that. Like, is that pollen receiving part sticking out of the flower, or is it encased with that anther cone? Does that make sense?
Oh, and that's for specific varieties.
Between varieties.
Oh, okay.
Typically the hybrids are going to be self-pollinating because they've been bred to have that characteristic. And if you look at, like, at some point, Scott and I walked around and we pulled flowers from all the different varieties of tomatoes that we grew and looked at the variation. And some of the heirlooms had the
stamen.
Yes.
The male receive.
No, the female sticking way out, and some of them had it completely encased. So.
I thought that the pistil was the middle part.
It is.
Oh, like what?
So the whole thing is the pistil. And then its stigma and style are the different parts of the pistil.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the anther and filament are different parts of the
stamen.
Thank you.
The stamen.
There's so many.
I spent a year
too.
teaching plant parts to like kindergartners and up to, like between kindergartners and 6th grade. So my like way to describe it is just like stamen. Like it's the male part.
That's actually
you need things like I need things like that.
I do too.
Yeah.
When there's just two things, and one is one thing and one is the other, I have such a hard time unless if I have something like that.
I'm like teaching about this all the time, and I cannot.
Yeah.
If you want my old pictures of my poster boards, I did.
I just need to like keep it on.
Like I definitely go back to them because I'm like, oh, it broke it down so easily.
Right.